downtown Salt Lake City. This is 2 News This Morning.
Fires erupting across the Wasatch Front, causing evacuations and even freeway closures, where the firefighting efforts stand this morning. And another protest in Cottonwood Heights, this against police brutality. But 2 different opinions led to clashes, the message both groups want heard. And new developments in the deadly plane crash in India, the latest death toll, and survivors recount the tragedy. Good morning. Thanks for joining us on 2 News This Morning, Weekend Edition. I'm Mallory Moore in for Christina Flores this morning. And we actually started with breaking news out of Weber County overnight, where 1 person is dead and another in custody after an officer-involved shooting in Roy. So it happened late last night when a car took off after being pulled over by officers. That triggered a short chase before officers ended the pursuit. They found the vehicle a short time later in a field nearby, and that's when the shots rang out.
As officers were making contact or attempting to make contact with the occupants of the car, shots were fired both by the suspect and the officers.
During the exchange, 1 suspect was shot and killed, and a police canine was shot but is expected to recover. No other officers were injured, and again, that 1 suspect is in custody. We will, of course, stay on top of this and let you know any updates that come out throughout the day. Turning now to the fire watch, Parley's fire is still burning up Parley's Canyon, and so far it has burned more than 90 acres. And it's only 15% contained. But I-80 is back open after crews closed the road for most of the day yesterday to help with those firefighting efforts. Now, UDOT says they don't expect more closures unless the fire grows or maybe the winds shift. Officials say the fire was caused by a dump truck dragging a chain. And anyone with information on that large dump truck that was dragging that chain should call wildfire authorities. You can see that number there on the screen, and they are looking for any tips, again, with that large dump truck. A look now at a few other wildfires burning across our state. The Upper Provo fire that broke out just yesterday, just east of Camas. It's about 480 acres, and it's still just 44% contained. And the Pine Hollow fire burning on the Utah-Arizona border, that's 98% contained. The fire has now been turned over to local crews, and so far it's burned more than 11,000 acres and is nearly contained. That fire was caused by lightning. We'll be sure to keep you updated on wildfires throughout our state. Look for updates on KUTV.com and on our 2 News mobile app. All right, we want to take a first look at your weather conditions over the weekend. Obviously, those do have a toll on the firefighting efforts. We want to say good morning to meteorologist Chase Thomason.
Hey, good morning, Mallory. Good to see you this Saturday morning. Right now, it's pretty calm and quiet, so great news for firefighters, and we're seeing some lighter winds as we head into the weekend. Now, high pressure is well out to our east. That means no monsoon thunderstorms. We want to see that high over the 4 corners. That's not going to be happening anytime soon. So here's where we expect those thunderstorms today, well east of Utah, with some severe weather in the Dakotas and Nebraska. Right now down in St. George, though, with the dry air, it is very pleasant. We've really cooled off overnight. 68 degrees in St. George, few high clouds, and those winds are calm. And just a few clouds over our mountains in northern Utah, and we're sitting at 69 degrees in Salt Lake City. Very comfortable with those light winds less than 10 miles an hour. We'll likely stay in the 70s just for a couple more hours, then we're warming back up by 10 o'clock, 81, 88 by noon, and temperatures this afternoon a few degrees above normal in the mid-90s. I'll let you know how long the mid-90s will last, and if there's any rain in the forecast, we'll break it down coming up in just a few more minutes.
All right. Thanks, Chase. A pool day for sure.
That's
Thanks
right.
so much. Dueling protests in Cottonwood Heights with 2 different groups and 2 very different viewpoints. The protest was for Black Lives Matter, and they stayed pretty peaceful as around 200 people called for police reform within Cottonwood Heights Police. Now, the organizers, they wanted peace, but also wanted their message to be heard loud and clear. That protest was then surrounded by Utah citizens' alarm. Founder Casey Robertson says the group has toned down their look just a bit, but has no plans to stop coming to the protest to protect against violence.
Not here to intimidate any peaceful protesters, to be able to come and feel comfortable to do their protests.
As the protests wound down, people who showed up to support police, they exchanged words with protesters and got a little bit heated there. Organizers, they stepped in quickly and they ended relatively peacefully. The union that represents Salt Lake City police officers is considering a vote of no confidence against Chief Mike Brown. Now, this is a story you'll only see on 2 News, and reporter Kyle Harvey confirmed that a preliminary vote was taken.
The ballot says the vote is not about whether Mike Brown is a good guy, rather whether you are confident in his recent actions as leader. We see a tally: 167 with no confidence, 17 with confidence. But there's a catch. This ballot was supposed to be live for 48 hours. It was only up for 24. So a couple hundred people haven't cast a vote yet. Union President Stephen Winters indicated they intend to do another ballot soon to cement the members' position.
The chief has heard through unofficial sources that a vote did take place, but nothing formal has been presented to the chief.
I was told Chief Brown was not available to speak today, so I interviewed Sergeant Brandon Shearer, who's not a union member. Are there people in the department who support the chief?
I can't speak on the department's behalf on that question. I can speak for myself. I know that the chief does have support from officers and sergeants and multiple people in the department. My personal opinion is I think they're officers just frustrated with the general things happening in the city.
The way Salt Lake City is set up, Mayor Aaron Mendenhall decides how long Chief Brown is in charge. So what effect does such a union vote have on the department?
I think it could be a way to open dialogue between the chief and the association about ways that the administration can improve and begin the conversation.
I'm Kyle Harvey, 2 News.
Now, 2 News did reach out to the mayor on whether or not she supports the chief and the union's concerns. Now, in a lengthy statement, she says she supports Chief Brown. She said the union leadership has failed its members by refusing to be part of the solution, adding that she's open to collaboration if union leadership will stop clinging to the past. Meanwhile, in Logan, the police department has fired former University of Utah police officer Miguel Duras. A public safety department investigation found that Duras he shared explicit photos of youth student Laura McCluskey with other university officers before she was killed by her ex-boyfriend. In a statement on Twitter, Logan police say the DPS report highlights behaviors inconsistent with the high expectations and standards placed on their officers. 6 people are in the hospital after a plane crash in Duchesne County. The single-engine Cessna T-220 took off from Roosevelt, but experienced engine problems shortly after takeoff yesterday. The plane crashed near a campground at Moon Lake. Now, 2 men, 2 women, and 2 teenagers, they were all on board that airplane. All are in the hospital being treated for injuries, but they are all expected to survive. The death toll continues to rise after an Air India plane crashed on a runway in southern India last week. Passengers of that plane say the pilot tried to land the plane twice, and it was during the second attempt that they skidded off the runway and fell into a ditch. Some passengers saved themselves by holding onto the seat in front of them.
What did he know from air traffic control? He's the ultimate decision maker. Did he make a bad decision, or was he given bad information that led him to make a bad decision?
The plane coming from Dubai was bringing back residents after being stranded due to the coronavirus pandemic. The plane's pilot and co-pilot, they were both killed in the accidents, and dozens of passengers were hurt. The remains of 7 Marines and a sailor have been recovered off the coast of California's San Clemente Island. The U.S. military performed underwater salvage operations after an amphibious assault vehicle sank last week during routine exercises. 16 people, they were on board the AAV when it started taking on water on July 30th. 5 crew members were rescued. 1 person was pronounced dead at the scene, and the cause of the incident is still under investigation. 2 people have been arrested after leading police on an hour-and-a-half-long pursuit. This is in L.A. Take a look. At least 6 police vehicles were following the car as it blew through red lights and intersections. These are kind of popular in L.A., right? Again, it lasted an hour-and-a-half. Now, the chase stopped in the middle of the intersection here. And if you look closely, you can see the driver and passenger. They're sticking out their hands, surrendering to police out of the windows of the car. You can just not outrun the police. Don't even try it. State health officials announcing another 460 new coronavirus cases in the last 24 hours. Now that brings the total number of cases in Utah to more than 43,000. The rolling 7-day average for positive tests is 441 per day. Another 5 deaths were reported from coronavirus, bringing the death toll to 335. 4 of the 5 new deaths were people living in long-term care facilities. Right now, health officials, they say more than 32,000 people in Utah have recovered from the virus. The battle over back to school continues with a caravan of concerned teachers rallying at the state capitol. More than 100 people showed up at yesterday's rally, organized by Safe Utah Schools. Organizer Wendy Moss, she says they want the governor to tell districts to look at the positivity rate of coronavirus cases in their area before they decide how and when to reopen.
If we are solely giving lip service to the safety and the security of our teachers, our students, then in essence, we are putting our entire community at risk.
They praise districts that are starting the year all online, like Salt Lake School District is doing, or doing a hybrid version like Davis County. Moss acknowledged it may be too late to change districts' minds and plans at this point. Well, high school football, yep, it is back here in Utah. Last night was actually the first game in the entire nation since the pandemic began. The scrimmage, it took place at Skyline High School in preparations for their first matchup. So the first high school football game, the official game, it kicks off next Thursday. And of course, KUTV, we will be there broadcasting Davis versus Harriman during Thursday night Lights on KJazz. We are monitoring the latest developments as they happen during the coronavirus pandemic. We'll have more right here on Channel 2, here on air, and online at KUTV.com. Still ahead this morning on 2 News, video of a dog in the back of a truck has people across the state wondering if it's safe. It might be legal, but some wonder if it really should be.
And the Salt Lake Parade of Homes is underway, and you may think it's all giant mansions. You will be blown away at the fine-tuned details on this little big